Did Donald Trump just declare war on BRICS? And could this be the beginning of the end for the US dollar? BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are making bold moves that could reshape global finance forever. They are ditching the dollar, stockpiling gold, and launching their own payment systems. And Trump? He's not having it. He's threatening 100% tariffs, economic sanctions, and even military action if necessary. But here's the twist: BRICS isn't backing down. They are accelerating their plans to break free from US financial control. Could this be the biggest challenge the US dollar has ever faced? Or will America crush the rebellion before it gains momentum? Stick around, because what you're about to hear could change the world economy forever. For decades, the US dollar has dominated global trade. Countries worldwide use it for transactions, oil is priced in dollars, and the US controls institutions like the IMF and World Bank to maintain its financial grip. But BRICS is fighting back. They are making a massive shift towards trading in local currencies. Brazil and China now trade directly in the Chinese yuan and the Brazilian real, cutting the US dollar out completely. This isn't just a money-saving move, it's an act of financial rebellion. And they are not alone. Russia, India, and even Middle Eastern nations are joining in, reducing their reliance on the dollar. Now, let's talk about gold. By the end of 2024, BRICS nations are projected to hold 6,200 tons of gold, 21% of the world's reserves. Why does that matter? Because gold is a hedge against US financial dominance. If the dollar weakens, BRICS has a safety net. This means they can operate independently of US-controlled financial systems. But BRICS didn't stop there. They've built BRICS Pay, a blockchain-powered payment system designed to bypass traditional banking networks like SWIFT. This means they can send and receive money globally, without US oversight. This is a direct challenge to America's financial empire. Donald Trump isn't staying silent. He just issued a chilling warning to BRICS nations: any attempt to weaken the US dollar will not be tolerated. He's threatened 100% tariffs on BRICS exports, 2 economic sanctions targeting BRICS banks and businesses, 3 blocking trade deals with nations that support BRICS financial system. Trump's message is clear: the US dollar is non-negotiable. If you try to replace it, expect consequences. But wait, it doesn't stop there. Trump also launched a new trade war with Europe. The European Union placed a 50% tariff on American whiskey, so Trump responded with a 200% tariff on wine, champagne, and other alcoholic products from Europe. This could devastate French, Italian, and Spanish wine producers, while boosting American wine sales. But it also risks igniting a full-scale trade war between the US and the EU. So, what does all of this mean? Trump is waging economic battles on 2 fronts: against BRICS and against Europe. And guess what? This could push the EU closer to BRICS. Imagine if France and Germany start trading in the Chinese yuan, or even gold instead of the US dollar. That would be a nightmare scenario for Washington. And here's another explosive move. Trump wants the US to take back control of the Panama Canal. Why? Because more than 70% of Panama Canal trade is tied to US ports. But right now, the canal is under Panamanian control, and China has a huge stake in its operations. Trump says the high fees on US ships are unfair, and wants to secure America's dominance over this critical trade route. The response: Panama is cutting ties with China and cancelling agreements with Chinese companies that operate key ports. Instead, a US firm, BlackRock, is stepping in. This is a major power shift, as the US strengthens its grip on global trade routes while pushing China out. So, what does China do? It's playing the long game, investing in alternative trade routes, strengthening ties with Latin America, and building new ports across Africa and Asia to bypass US-controlled waters. The US and China are engaged in a silent economic war, and the Panama Canal is just one battlefield. But here's the bombshell: BRICS is considering withdrawing from the IMF and the World Bank. Why? Because the US and Europe control over 50% of the voting power in the IMF, while BRICS nations, despite their economic size, have very little influence. BRICS leaders argue that the IMF's policies favor the West, forcing developing countries to privatize assets and follow strict economic rules. So, BRICS is building its own system. They've already created the New Development Bank, NDB, an alternative to the IMF that provides loans without US restrictions. The BRICS Contingent Reserve Arrangement, CIA, a financial safety net for BRICS nations. BRICS Pay, a payment system that avoids the US dollar and Western financial controls. And here's where it gets even crazier. There's talk of a BRICS-backed digital currency, or a gold-backed trading system, to completely remove the need for the US dollar. But the US might actually speed up this shift. Some American politicians are pushing for Project 2025, which would see the US exit the IMF and World Bank entirely, redirecting $770 billion into domestic programs. If the US pulls out of the IMF, 1. The IMF loses credibility, and member nations panic. 2. BRICS becomes the new global financial powerhouse. 3. The Chinese yuan gains massive influence. 4. US sanctions weaken, because BRICS nations can trade without needing US approval. This would be a game changer. It could shatter Western financial dominance, giving BRICS more power than ever. So, here's the million-dollar question. Will BRICS succeed in breaking the US dollar's dominance? Or will Trump and the US government crush their ambitions before they become a real threat? Right now, the world is at a crossroads. We are witnessing a massive financial shift that could reshape the global economy forever. If BRICS pulls off their plan, the US dollar may never be the same again. But what do you think? Is BRICS going to take down the US dollar? Or will America fight back and maintain its dominance? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video eye-opening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because we'll be covering every twist and turn as this economic battle unfolds. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.